everybody?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Good morning, everybody. It's March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day, 2022. I'd like to bring the Liquor Commission Ad Hoc Committee to order. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Berman,
Berman here.
Caius,
Caius present.
Sanchez,
Sanchez here.
Wallace,
Wallace here.
Heurog.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Very good. May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of March 18th, 2021?
Caius moves.
Sanchez seconds.
Okay. Any amendments to those or changes to those minutes? I see none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Heurog. Passes.
Minutes are passed. We are now here to review the annual liquor license applications, and I'll turn this over to Jane.
Good morning and happy St. Patrick's Day. Before we get started, for those of you who don't know, this is Don O'Brien, our Assistant State's Attorney who works with the Liquor Commission and assists me almost daily on answering questions and helping me get these licenses approved. So I'd like to welcome him and thank him for everything that he's provided. Do you have anything you want to say, Mr. O'Brien?
Good morning to all. I've been working with the Liquor Commission.
microphone,
since
please.
2018.
Here you go.
I've been working with the Liquor Commission since 2018. Good morning to all. I work in the Civil Division, State's Attorney's Office, down in the old courthouse.
Great. I also want to thank Mark Van Kerkhoff, our Director of Development, and his staff, Michael Cranes, Kurt Baum, and Spencer Croning, for all the inspections that they've completed for our liquor licenses, as well as the Health Department, Aaron Rauscher, Julie Weigel, and Maria Almanza, who also completes all the food permit inspections. So I appreciate all their help. First thing we want to do this morning is approve the liquor licenses who've actually applied, paid, and have passed all their inspections. I can list those out for you if you'd like. Aqua Viva Winery, Aurora Turner Club, Batavia Moose Lodge, Black Sheep Golf Club, Burr Road Country Club, Calamity Jane's, Country Stop, Dutch Inn, Elgin Country Club, Fisherman's Inn, Foxview Grocery, Golf Visions, which is also Tana Farms, Greenfields, Heritage Prairie Market, KC Concessions, Parkside Lanes, Rich Harvest Farms, Silver Spur, Sorrento's, Stony's, Sycamore Speedway, Milk Creek Market, Windy Acres, and Winter Circles. All of those applications are complete and paid, and inspections are done. So,
Kuipers and Mill Creek were not approved.
Mill Creek is approved. I'm sorry, I left them off. I just wanted to point out on that one that they have been closed since 2018 and they are now open and back in business. So that's a good thing. The other one, there's a couple other ones. Some issues have arisen since I printed this, so we'll get to those. But the ones I just listed are cleared and ready for approval.
Could you do them one more time?
Sure. Aqua Viva Winery, Aurora Turner Club, Batavia Moose, Black Sheep Golf Club, Burr Road Country Club, Calamity Jane's, Country Stop, Dutch Inn West, Elgin Country Club, Fisherman's Inn, Foxview Grocery, Golf Visions, which is Tana Farms, Greenfields, Heritage Prairie Market, KC Concessions, Mill Creek, Parkside Lanes, Rich Harvest Farms, Silver Spur, Sorrento's, Stony's, Sycamore Speedway, Mill Creek Market, Windy Acres, and Winter Circle.
So
Madam Chair,
yes, Mr. Caius.
was Kuipers and Plank Road Tap Room in that, or those?
No, There's I was notified this morning that their food permits have not been applied for or paid for. So I've moved them to a separate list that we
Okay.
can discuss after approving these, if that's
All right.
okay.
So we're removing Kuipers,
We're
Plank Road.
removing
Tap Room,
Cantina, Kuipers,
and
Plank Road Tap, Rudy's Lounge.
There's Cantina on the list.
Are you looking for a motion?
Yes.
Okay, Wallace moves to approve.
Berman second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all clerk, could you please call the roll?
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Xerox.
Yes.
Okay, the next list of applicants are those that still have a few outstanding issues, but if we could approve them with the contingency that those will be complete by March 31st, that would be great. So I'll go through those. Cantina, which is actually Cantina La Antigua, that was the former Milk Pail in Dundee. There were just a couple of things in their inspection that need to be fixed. I think they had a couple of exit signs that either weren't there or need to be there, but the development department is handling that. Kuipers was, I was told this morning, has not gotten their food permit. I did reach out to them this morning, so hopefully they will get that taken care of. Plank Road Tap, that's the same situation. I did hear from them this morning. They will be reaching out to the health department to get that taken care of. Rudy's Lounge, not only has their food permit that's outstanding, but I believe they have some issues that were found when the development department did their inspections. So the development department is working with the fire district in Aurora to get those resolved with Rudy's. So we're waiting for those to get completed. So those establishments, if we could approve them with contingencies, that would be good.
I move that we approve them with contingency.
Sanchez seconds.
Very good. Just a question. If they do not get the approval for the food permit, look at Rudy's right now, plus make sure that their inspections are taken advantage of or taken care of by March 30th, then what happens?
We do not give them a liquor license and we would send them notification. Correct, Mr. O'Brien?
And is that for the whole year?
Yes.
Normally what happens is we give them a grace period. They have to comply with both the development department and the health department. They both have to sign off on the fact that the premises is in compliance. Sometimes that takes a little longer than maybe normal, given in the last couple of years. But if that is not completed, we would send them a notice indicating their license has not been issued. That before we do, these other issues have to be resolved. And so what we normally do is give them a little extra time in which to have these issues resolved.
And is that then prorated?
Yes, ma'am. That's what we have done in the past. We have avoided trying to put people out of business because of administrative problems. People have been put out of business in the past because of, I'm gonna say intentional conduct. And usually it's intentional conduct that's happened more than once.
Okay.
And then steps are taken to remove their license.
Okay.
If they do nothing, however, according to the ordinance, then their license expires. And we would send them notice that their license is expired and ask the sheriff to go out and post a notice on the door of the establishment. We would also give a call then to the Illinois State Licensing Department to advise them of the action that we've taken.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Great explanation. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Thank you. Wallace,
Wallace, yes.
Yes. The motion passes.
There are just three other establishments that I'd want to bring to your attention. Old Stark's Tavern, which is not on that list that we approved. We have not gotten any response from them whatsoever. No application, no fees paid. I've reached out to them several times via email. I've spoken to Aaron Perez at least 2 times and still nothing. So just so you're aware, they're not on the list for approval, just in case anybody is wondering about that.
We have had difficulties every year with Old Stark's Tavern. The gentleman who owned Old Stark's for many years was hospitalized and I guess has a very serious chronic illness. He has hired a manager who is running the place. They have always been late in submitting their application. Frequently, when they have submitted it, the payment, the license fee has been, I'm going to say, returned because it is no good. Either a check or a credit card have been denied. We've had problems with them. Usually, I'm going to say they work out, but it takes some time to try and get them into compliance. They've also had difficulties with zoning and also with health department. So we'll see what happens. If they do not submit an application at all, again, the process would be to send them a notice that your license has expired and ask the sheriff to go out and post it on the door. Apparently, they've had difficulty too with their Illinois state license as well. So that may happen this year. In the past, they've always been able to somehow come in and get things straightened out, but it's a difficult process for them.
And does that notice that your license has expired, does that go on the day, it's a March 30th, or does it go a week beforehand so that they're aware that this is going to be happening?
Yes, if it appears that, I know Jane reaches out to these people periodically to try and spur them along to try and get those applications in and not wait till the last moment. I would say that a notice should go out sooner than later because of the past history with this particular licensee. They've always been able to pull it together. We anticipate that they will hear at the last moment.
Okay.
The other establishment is Blue Boar Inn. They're in Montgomery. This establishment was actually sold to new owners in February. We did send them a letter asking them to provide us with a 30-day notice that they'll be applying for their, new license and who the new owners are. However, that 30-day ends tomorrow and we've not been contacted at all. So again, if we do not hear from them and they do not apply for a license, pretty much do the same steps, correct, Mr. O'Brien? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct. We learned about the change in ownership under the ordinance. If there is a change in more than 5% of the ownership in a corporate licensee, they have to give notice of that within 30 days of the change to the commission, so that we can avoid having people having control of liquor licenses that have not undergone the background check that's required by the statute. In the case of the Blue Boar, Jane was notified by the
Sellers.
the old owner, the seller, that the business had been sold and that she had not sold the license with the business, which of course she could not do. Licenses are not transferable, and that we should be on the lookout for a new license application. That has not happened, and they have not given any notice of the change. So we anticipate that we will be sending them a notice indicating that the previous liquor license has expired and that they are out of business.
Okay, okay, very good.
And the last one I wanted to bring to your attention is with Intrafood. They are in, I think, Carpentersville or Dundee. They did provide us with a 30-day notice that they would be changing their ownership. However, I was notified this week that they've decided not to go that route. So late yesterday afternoon, they did apply for a renewal of their license. They paid this morning for their fees. So if we could probably add them to the list of approval with a contingency, just to make sure all those are correct and their inspections go well, that would probably be a good idea.
So I believe that we should have a separate motion to approve them. So may I have a motion and a second to approve Interfood in Carpentersville to have a contingency liquor license or approval contingency of a liquor license pending documentation.
Sanchez so moves.
Thank you.
Berman second.
Okay, any discussion?
Sanchez with the question.
Yes, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jane, is that just the organization name? Is there a business that's under that that goes by a different name?
It's Intrafood. I think that's a soccer organization.
Oh, okay.
Intrafood and soccer, maybe.
I just wasn't familiar with the name, and that's
yeah.
up in my area, so I was curious.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anything else?
I don't have anything else. I do want to mention.
We have to call the roll on
So
this.
sorry.
Hold on a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Yes, passes. All right, Jane.
I was just going to mention that we have a couple of new establishments that are getting themselves together and going through the application process. So once those are in and all the inspections for food and development have done what they need to do, we'll be bringing it back, those two back for your approval. Just a heads up.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
I want to point out that there is an ordinance, chapter 26, that the board passes from time to time, limiting or setting out the number of liquor licenses that it issues. It has always been approximately 35. Right, it goes up and down as new people come in and old people drop out. Presently, under the last chapter 26 that was passed in 2019, there's approximately 34 liquor licenses issued or that have been authorized. Depending upon, and it is set forth. It is set forth by license and by township. These new licenses, Jane advised me, may cause a change in the chapter 26 authorization. So depending on how this all shakes out, we may have to present a new resolution under chapter 26 to the board to, I'm going to say, change the number of licenses and change the allocations between the various townships. Wanted you to know that.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Comment, Shepro.
Yes, Mr. Shepro. I love the hat.
I believe that I think that this would be one of the unusual situations where an ordinance would be required to amend that portion of the county code. But I think the practice in the past has always been that the number of licenses equals the number of licensees. And if somebody goes out of business or surrenders a license, that license is then as soon as possible eliminated. So that you've got more control over who gets it. If you have a license available that is unissued, pretty much anybody can come in and apply for that license. And in the past, that's been viewed as a reduction in the amount of control available. And I believe that at least one township is dry, has voted to be dry, so there are no licenses available in the unincorporated area. I think that might be Big Rock, but that's a knowable fact.
I think,
That's
I
true.
think, I think the councilman is correct. Big Rock is dry.
It looks like Burlington is
Some of the
too.
others, have no licenses either.
Yeah.
It's gone back and forth. There hasn't been much fluctuation. Like I said, it's always been between 34, 35, 33. So we'll see what we have. Jane's talking that there may be 2 or 3 that are going to change. The ones we've just been talking about, we may lose 2, and we may have 2 or 3 other ones to put in different townships.
This seems very unusual at this day and age to have a dry township. Just having the wonderful opportunity to go to your neighborhood restaurant, et cetera, to partake in say, glass of wine, and just to enjoy friends and neighbors. I lived in
There is
Hubbardston
a
when it was dry.
statute. Oh, I'm sorry.
So, but what I'm getting is that because we have a growing Kane County, a deeper population, should that be reviewed? I mean, is it warranted to be reviewed? We have many things to take a look at right now. Is this a potential that we would like to consider and perhaps change for next year, to reach out to the townships who may have made this decision a while back and ask them to just review it and update their thoughts?
Well, the
Mr.
Shepro
Shepherd,
comment,
yes,
yeah,
please.
the state liquor act basically gives, in Chicago, you can do it on the basis of an individual precinct, and where basically the voters of that jurisdiction file a petition that says something like, shall the sale of alcohol at retail be prohibited within Ward 5, Precinct 12, which might turn out to be the heart of the Lincoln Avenue Entertainment District. In the outside of Cook County, it's done on a township level or a municipal level. And I believe that there was a conclusion some years ago that for example, in Big Rock, that prohibition applies to unincorporated Big Rock, but not to the village of Big Rock, unless they had their own referendum. But, so we have no authority as a county to tell a particular township whether to allow or not allow the sale of alcohol. And of course, once you vote dry, you could turn around and vote wet again. I remember a couple of years ago, we were up in Point Barrow, Alaska, and they apparently have a liquor referendum every year. And the populace is very closely divided. And when they vote dry, the next election comes around and the people who would have been drunk aren't. And so they go to the polls and vote, and they vote wet. And the next time they're drunk on election day, so they vote dry, and they've gone back 6 times in 6 years. But I think the real question is, what is your fundamental policy about the availability of licenses? And that some of that is beyond my recollection as to how that's done. But I will say that a lot of constitutional rules that apply to most business licenses don't apply in the case of liquor, because the courts have concluded that when they repealed prohibition, the authority given to the states is in the Constitution, and that supersedes a lot of other rules that you think would apply. So that might be a significant review effort.
Mr. O'Brien, I think you had a few words to say.
You know what, I have nothing to add to what Mr. Shepro has had to say. My understanding is that there is a referendum passed by the voters, as he has stated, and that becomes the, I'm going to say, the law that they've decided to stay dry. A new referendum would have to be organized and promulgated and voted on to change that.
And each
I am
township.
not conversant with how that is done, but what would be required would be that there would have to be, I assume, petitions circulated to put that on a ballot for the area in that township. And I think
That is correct.
and what we're doing here is all of these areas that we are talking about here are the unincorporated parts of these townships,
Absolutely.
and they do not involve any municipalities. So
And why was
everything- I agree with what he has to say, and someone would have to organize a change and to put a new referendum on the ballot.
Okay, all right, and that's something that I'm not ready to do right now. But another question I have, why was it limited to 35? Again, we have, should it be extended to 37 moderately? I know that I understand that there's a shift when restaurant closes in unincorporated area, a new one would take over that license. But why that restriction? Mr. Berman?
Well, it's really a matter of control of the number of liquor licenses. And I know it was our procedure that when someone did not renew their license, we took that license away and we changed our ordinance. The number of, and so when somebody comes up to apply for a license, we have to go through the whole procedure of increasing the number of licenses. So it makes it more difficult, but it also gives you the control that you don't have without that. So it's significant to the, from the liquor standpoint.
So it's in North Aurora, it was as an as-needed basis.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
They have to apply, and then we have to also, the board has to approve the increase in the number of liquor licenses before we can give the liquor license.
'Cause the reason why I'm questioning this is that if you have a viable business who wants to open up in an unincorporated area, let's say a wedding venue, that has never been established there before, and we have 35 licenses, all are issued. And this is a wonderful opportunity to provide economic development within that community, to provide a resource. To deny them this opportunity to do business, I think would be, in my opinion, I think it'd be very restrictive and it would be an overreach for government.
Comment, Shepro?
Yes, Mr. Shepro.
Yeah, well, as Mayor Berman, if I may use that term, has indicated, what would happen in that instance is they would have other permitting that they would probably need to go through, and they would make a request that they would like a license, and then the county board could then vote and would vote to establish a new license for that township. But if you just had a license sitting out there, somebody else could come in and apply for it. And if they applied before your new business that you'd like, you would have to give it to the first person to apply. And I think that's, as Dale points out, that's why when someone surrenders a license, you eliminate it, because otherwise you really lose control over what establishment would be entitled to get that license, because there still are rules about, priority and so forth.
Okay, okay,
Mhm.
good. Thank you. Thank you. I have a much better understanding. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Madam Chairman, this is Alan.
Yes, Ms. Allen?
I just wanted to commend our Attorney O'Brien. In past years, he helped solve a real difficult problem. Up in the Carpentersville area, there was a successful business involving alcohol that was, can I say, too successful? And the neighbors were just, beyond comprehension on how to handle it. And of course, we looked to the sheriff to say, are there some ways to help handle this situation? And the sheriff said, sure, if you want to buy me a whole lot of equipment, which we don't want and we don't want to use. And Attorney OBrien came up with a wonderful, reasonable way to solve the problem. And that is if you're enjoying your backyard as a neighbor and you can hear somebody else having way too much of a party, then the people having the party are out of compliance and can be ticketed. And so you didn't need fancy equipment and you didn't need a whole lot of rules. You just needed to listen. And that seemed to calm down the situation a great deal. And it was just a brilliant idea. I wanted to say thanks in retrospect.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Well, we were searching for a means to try and put a noise provision in the liquor control ordinance over and above what they have in the county nuisance ordinance. And we were able to get that revised and get that passed. So we'll see how that goes in the future, but it should be easier for a court if we have an ordinance violation case for them to interpret, and it would also be easier for the board or the commission to deal with a noise issue such as has happened in the past with regard to a couple of these establishments that were holding outside events. So we'll see what happens. Thank you again.
Anything else? And Jane?
Oh, good.
We're all good? All right. Is there now any old business? Seeing none. New business.
You had mentioned, Madam Chairman, that you would like to maybe talk about late fees.
Yes, please.
Currently, we say we're going to charge $50 a take for late applications. Since I've been doing this, which was only last year and this year, we've never actually implemented that or enforced it. And you maybe had some suggestions or ideas?
What do you think? I mean, if somebody, for
Well,
whatever
let-
reason,
let me
Mr.
say
O'Brien.
that the ordinance doesn't provide for late fees. The ordinance contemplates that full payment would be made with the application. And unless there is full payment, that the application would not be processed and the license would not be issued. So that's what the statute says. And what has happened, particularly with regard to the one licensee, Old Starks, is that they gave us a check and it turned out to be NSF. And then they tried to give us a credit card from somebody, and that the credit card was no good. It was rejected, the amount of the check. So our position was to tell them your application cannot be approved and the license cannot be issued until the money is in hand, the money is paid. We even went so far as Old Starks owed a lot of, I'm going to say, back payments to the health department. You have to pay the health department periodically for what they do to come out and do inspections, and they owed the health department too. So we said, we're not going to do anything for you until you make these payments. And eventually they did. They did provide the payments in a satisfactory form. So unless we go and amend the ordinance itself on payments, I think that and the applications, I think that there's no basis to start charging late fees. I know the prior secretary of the board, Barbara, wanted to do that to try and somehow spur people into, again, making timely payments and making good payments to us. but, you know, we talked about that, but there has to be some kind of there has to be some kind of an amendment to allow that to be done, and what the basis of the late charge is going to be. Is it going to be, so because these license amounts are all different depending on the type of license that you have. They're all paying different amounts of money. Some of them are getting 2 or 3 licenses and they are paying a lot more than others. Be that as it may, you would have to come up with a percentage and a time period in order to do that. What that does though, however, is putting that in there is what we would really like is that they make the payment with the application fee. They make good payment, no bad checks, no bad credit card statements, so that everything is paid for. And we would not, Jane would not process the application. And the only time that would be different is if she came to you in the meeting and said they have done everything and you could approve this license now, except they haven't paid us. So then it would be up to the commission to make a determination whether they wanted to approve a license for somebody who hadn't paid the money. And under that condition, you could say, if you don't pay, you have 30 days to pay. If you don't pay, we're going to charge you 10% interest on that per month. So, and I toss that out theoretically, because as you know, there's an interest statute in the Illinois revised statutes about what kind of interest charges you can charge people. So if you decide to do that, there has to be an amendment, and there would have to be a difference in the way we do business.
Question, Shepro?
So no
Yes,
fee,
sir.
just interest. And yes, Mr. Shepro.
So I guess council, my understanding is that right now, if we chose to enforce the ordinance and the statute as written, there's no such thing as a late fee, because if you don't pay in full, if your check bounces, the commission or the commissioner would be within her rights to say, sorry, application denied.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
You know, Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Berman.
well, a liquor license is a privilege. It's not something that we have to give out. At least that's the way I understand it. So in this case, we're not interested in the late fee. We're interested in getting paid in
Right.
in that period of time so that we can
Yes, sir.
approve it. So
Yes, sir. And you know what? It's only happened. I'm going to say it's only happened to one or two people historically every year have problems doing that. So it has not been a big problem with more than that. Problems have been associated with all the other documentation that has to be submitted, particularly with regard to someone who is applying for a new license, or there has been a change in the ownership of the business. Some people want to get a higher license. People want to be able to serve outside, or they want to be able to have a beverage cart, or they want to have the Sunday privilege to be able to sell in the morning. So in the past, there have been people wanting to add to their licenses, but it's only been a couple people. And I feel that we should keep it the way it is, that if they don't provide with the money, with the application, we should take no action on it. And if they don't have it to us by the time when the license expires, we should send them a notice and say your license is expired, and send the sheriff out there to post it on their door.
And do we wait for the check to clear or the credit card's payment to clear before we issue the license?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Question, Shepro.
Especially with regard to a couple of these people that we've had.
Yeah.
That we've had problems with.
So if somebody comes in, one more question, please, March 30th, and they give you the check, and their license expires on March 30th. It'll take several days to make sure that the check clears. So then their license will be issued April 3rd or 4th. So they are with, the notice then will go out from the sheriff to say that no, they cannot serve any liquor. And then it'll be removed once they get their official license. That's the procedure. That makes sense to me. Good.
In practice, that's what happens.
They can
The-
always
the-
bring in cash.
The ordinance says you have to provide a certified check, cashier's check, money order made payable to the Liquor Control Commission or by credit card or electronic payment processing. So
No personal check.
no. So and in the application documents that people receive, that's made clear to them that they cannot go and do that. So
Guess I can't bring
it's
cash.
pretty clear that we don't want personal checks, and that it has to be, they have to be in some form of certified funds. So again, a couple people have trouble doing this.
Okay.
The
Okay.
vast majority of the people are able to comply.
Mr. Shepro, you left the room. Are there any other questions on this?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr.
just
Caius.
my quick opinion, and I think that pulling the license would be sufficient since they're not going to be, they won't be operating a business or bringing in income. I can't see a $50 penalty being very dramatic and much of an incentive to get it paid. So I'm in favor of what Mr. O'Brien's saying.
Mhm.
Leave it as it is.
Our practice in the past has been not to try to put people out of business. And we've given them notices indicating, giving them additional time to try and comply with some of these things. And in 4 years, I don't know anybody who's been put out of business. The closest one has been Old Starks. And they were put out of business briefly by the state of Illinois because they did not do what they were supposed to do to the state of Illinois license. You have to have a state license first. If you have a state license, then you come and apply to us and advise us that you already have secured a state license. They failed not only to apply for our license, but they failed to apply for the state one. So the state closed them down. I can say that the state appears to be rather unforgiving if you do not file an application with them and do not pay your fee to the state. They send you a notice right away that you cannot longer do business until you have remedied the problem. So again, in my recollection, Old Starks was one that was actually shut down, but not by us, but by the state. And of course, if the state license was invalid or was required to shut them down, they were shut down by under our license as well. We've had some other difficulties where people have been threatened to have their licenses canceled because of things that they did. When that happens, we give them a notice and a hearing is held before the commission on whether or not that license ought to be terminated. Again, we have given people who have administrative problems getting all their documents in, such as there's insurance certificates and there's a whole package of things that you have to get in. We have given people time in which to do this. And indeed, we've gone before the commission here and approved the license tentatively upon completion of the remainder of the application. The only people who have come really in danger of doing that is that people who have not submitted an application at all or have not paid their fee to us or have not paid the fees to our other county agencies. So again, there's one or two actors out there who are always a day late and a dollar short. We would not like to shut them down. unless there is just a total failure by them to apply or to pay any of the fees and supply the other paperwork that we need.
So I don't think that we need a motion, but I believe we could probably have just consensus at this point that we are not going to be charging any late fees and just proceed as with the policy that has been set forth by the county code. If you don't pay, you don't give all of your documents, you don't get the license. May I have consensus? All,
Wallace, I agree.
Caius, yes.
that everybody? Perfect. Thank you. All right. If there's nothing else, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Berman moves.
Caius, second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
I,
great.